ومريم ابنة عمران التي أحصنت فرجها فنفخنا فيه من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Welcome to your program, our program, The Virtuous Woman. Welcome to this episode of The Virtuous Woman. If you're just joining us, I am your host for today, Olaguju Bushro. And with me in the studio is a honorable guest who will be taking us through a very, very beautiful topic. And I'm sure that by the time we finish with this topic, you will be inspired, you will have learned a lot, and you will see that staying with us is not a waste of time. But before I introduce to the house my guest for today, let's go on this short break.
إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما.
Welcome viewers at home. If you're just joining us, it is The Virtuous Woman on the same station like you are used to. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this month of Ramadan from us as an act of ibadah. Like I said earlier on, our guest for today is somebody whom you will love to listen to, you will love to learn from, and I hope that you'll be able to pick one or two things from her discussion today. The topic for today is Zina and homosexualism, and to talk to us about that is Hajia Basira Tarabi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ma'am, we really appreciate your presence, and we hope that you'll be able to teach us one or two things today. The topic is Zina and homosexualism. Why are we discussing Zina? It's month of Ramadan. We should probably focus on fasting. How is Zina and homosexualism very important for us to discuss on this?
It's very important for us to discuss. I was going to we need to discuss on this topic mainly for two reasons.
Okay.
First, virtually everything that would bring the wrath of Allah on us, we need to educate ourselves about it in Ramadan, because it is the month of training. Lakum Taftakum is a month that wants to teach us the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the fear of Allah encompasses everything that we do. And the issue of Zina and homosexualism has become a global topic of discussion. We as Muslims, we need to understand the perspective of Islam about it, and possibly see reasons, even from common sense, why we shouldn't engage ourselves in these two acts. Zina by its meaning is either, it is basically adultery or fornication.
Okay.
Adulterers are those that relate sexually with other people outside their marital homes. Is either a man that left his wife at home, that goes to meet another woman outside, or a woman that does the same thing. Fornicators are those who engage in pre-marital or sex outside marriage. They are not married, they are either having sexual affairs with either a married person or a non-married person. And when you talk about homosexuality, it's the same thing as sodomy. Sexual relations between two men, man to man. These two acts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala condemned the two in clear terms. He gave us a stern warning on zina. In Surah Israel, verse 32. Quran chapter 17, verse 32. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I was very shaitan rajim. La taqrabu zina. Innahu kana fahishatan wa sa'a sabila. Do not come near zina. It's not that don't do it. Other things Allah say don't do. But this is telling you, do not come near. Don't move close to it. Anything that will even push you to it, don't engage in it. Because it is an evil on its own. And it's tending someone is a big sin, it's a great sin. And it is an evil way. And the same thing Allah brought back to memory the people of Prophet Lut. In Surah Al-Araf, Quran chapter 7, verse 80 to 84. And the same thing in Surah Al-Hijr, Quran chapter 15, verse 72 to 76.
Okay.
That the people of Lut were leaving their women and were having sexual engagement with men. And Lut called the attention to it after receiving revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That verily you practice your lots on men instead of women. Nay, you are a people transgressing beyond bound. And Prophet said, may Allah's curse be on those who commit the action of the people of Lut. In that hadith, he said it 3 times. So this shows that it's a very great, very great offense in Islam. And no society whatsoever, no sane society approves of these 2 acts. Okay. If you come back to our own local traditional communities, okay, zina is not something that is applauded by the Yoruba people.
By zina, you mean?
But that is adultery and fornication.
Okay, okay.
And even homosexuality is even strange. It's a completely strange thing to Africans in general. Okay. It's a completely strange thing. It's not something that is practiced. It's out of culture. It's out of the cultures of the African communities. So it's not something that is looked at with as is not taken with a light in a lighter manner when it talks of issues that has to do with zina, that has to do with homosexuality.
One of the things that I appreciate about Islam as a beautiful religion is that in as much as it is not Islam alone that condemns zina, but Islam has gone a step ahead because it says do not move near. So it means that there are some things that will make you to go near zina, which Islam has forbidden. Yeah. So can I just put all through those things that causes zina in the first instance?
Yeah, the causes of zina.
Okay.
In this prevalent time,
okay,
you see people engaging in zina for different reasons. Some do it out of poverty. You see these young girls that when they are taken for trafficking in some other countries, they sell them into prostitution and some other things. It's out of, they will tell you because they don't have money. And of course, the biggest of all causes is ignorance. Some don't take it as anything. They don't even know it is something that is harmful. They don't know it's something that needs not be done. If someone that is, if you know there are other means of satisfying your needs, you won't go into something that will incur the curse of Allah, the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on you. Something that will eventually bring a perpetual shame. Something that will eventually bring one into distress, even in this world. Before coming, there are earthly punishment for zina. There are other things you can do that you go away with it over time. But when in the case of zina, most of it, even here on earth, the judgments are instantaneous.
Even before death.
Even before death comes. Part of the causes of zina is free mixing. A society where there is no control between the interactions between the opposite sexes. Allah knows what He has created us with. He knows the kind of magnet running between a man and a woman. Let us look at it. The cases of rape is on the increase because of what we see in our magazines, what we watch on our TV. Open display of love affair between two people, on things that will arouse the sexual awareness of the other person.
Just before
you see it displayed on our TV.
Before
we see it in films.
Okay.
We see it in advertisement.
Right.
We see it in so many other things. This is part causes of.
Before we leave the issue of free mixing, I just want to ask, how does handshake between opposite sex, is there a way it enhances zina? Is that under free mixing too? Because
of course,
even
that is
Muslims
even
will
going beyond
tell you
free
that
mixing.
it's just a shake.
It's going beyond shaking body together or coincidentally hitting each other on the pathway. By the time you come to the extent of stretching your hands and shaking to the opposite sex, there is a communication that goes into that. Even the woman may not feel it, but the body of the man is much more sensitive to sexual arousals, even outside love. He doesn't need to love the person. May I see the nudity of a woman, or even seeing a woman that puts up an attire or a posture that is so loving and inviting, you will see the average man.
There's a message that is
sent to the brain of the average man. And that is why you will see a high level of raping on young children. Children who are innocent. Because most of these men has watched blue films, they've looked at home videos, they've so many things. They are aroused, they don't, the slightest, the next victim, the next person is their victim. It could be a 2-month-old child. So disheartening. And so, in fact, it's highly annoying. The rate at which children are falling victim of this nudity and free mixing of a thing. The same thing goes for nudity. And lack of fear of God is part of it. Spiritually, people are dead. Because when you are doing things, like when you start with small things, sins, you get to a point where you don't even feel the guilt in you.
There's no remorse.
There's no sense of remorse as to what I'm doing is even evil or whatever, in whatever way. So all these are bottom line causes of
but I think it's
zina and homosexualism.
Okay, I was just about to ask if the same causes that applies to zina also has to do with homosexuality, because now we're talking about same sex.
Yeah, some of it are applicable.
Okay.
Some of it are applicable. In the first instance, poverty could be part of it. Most men don't want to take responsibilities any longer. They just believe that, well, if I can satisfy myself without having the cost to care for a pregnancy, without having the cost to care for a baby, and without having, or whatever. Second is ignorance. We are invited into, this campaign is coming from the West. And by and large, most of us don't know the consequences that this thing has wreaked on the Western society. So you then discover that, whether you like it or not, people copy what they see. The effect of the media is also part of it. Because more often than not, we are not portraying a nice thing. I see it in my environment here, it looks so abhorrent. You see 3 men sitting on a bike and a motorcycle. They are touching each other. And whether you like it or not, some kind of sensations will normally come in. And it's out of poverty that has reduced our means of transportation, that has made motorcycle riding part of our means of transportation. You now see the bike rider will say, I want to carry 2 or 3 people. He himself will be the third.
Irrespective of the gender.
Irrespective of the gender. So it's equally part of it.
Yeah.
And there are dangers attached to this act, like I said. There's equally heartly reward.
Okay, just before we treat the dangers and of course the way out of all these challenges that we are facing, viewers at home, let us remind you once again, the topic is zina and homosexualism. And you're still on to your program, The Virtuous Woman. Join us after this short break.
ولا تقربوا الزنا إنه كان فاحشة وساء سبيلا ولا تقتلوا النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق ومن قتل مظلوما فقد جعلنا لوليه سلطانا فلا يسرف في القتل إنه كان منصورا ولا تقربوا مال اليتيم إلا بالتي هي أحسن حتى يبلغ أشده وأوفوا بالعهد إن إن العهد كان مسؤولا وأوفوا الكيل إذا كلتم وزنوا بالقسطاس المستقيم ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا ولا تقف ما ليس لك به علم إن السمع والبصر والفؤاد كل أولئك كان عنه مسؤولا ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إنك لن تخرق الأرض ولن تبلغ الجبال طولا كل ذلك كان سيئه عند ربك مكروها.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's still Olagmojo Bushro. And our guest in the house, Hadia Basira Tarabiu. It's been a very interesting time out with us. If you're just joining, you haven't missed so much. Just join us and relax as we take you through the other segments of the program. Hadia, before we went on the break the other time, you were about discussing the dangers of Zina, the dangers of homosexualism in our society.
The dangers of Zina and homosexualism here on earth, that we see, is like man inviting on himself some serious punishment. Before you now even talk about the punishment Allah has prescribed to serve as a deterrent to such acts that is posing serious danger to the existence of man. One of such danger is that it's a high cause of transmission of venereal diseases, sexually transmitted infections. From statistics, 58% of HIV carriers, HIV/AIDS patients in the United States got it from homosexualism. Another 8% from heterosexual act.
That's bad.
That is Zina. You now discover that if we remove those two, and by the time you now add those who got it from drug addiction, which could equally be a means of transmission of these two acts, that is reducing the rate of HIV/AIDS transmission by some 91%. When you go into statistics too in UK, 57% of these carriers are from homosexualism. The next 26% is from those who commit the act of Zina. So you can imagine, globally, about 80% of HIV carriers, AIDS patients, have got it from these two alone. You can see the danger it poses to the existence of man.
It's a very bad.
Secondly, you have unwanted pregnancies. School children, girls dropping out of school, out of pregnancy. You have mothers that are themselves babies. Sometimes ago they had a boy of 13 years being a father. In what way is he going to father a child at age 13? He himself is a child himself. The same thing goes for the case of abortion. So many lives are lost all over the world due to abortion. Some girls are just walking on the street. They are dead already. They've had several series of abortion. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked in Surah Al-Taqwir, on the day of Qiyamah, such children will come up and ask, why did you kill me? Why?
What was my offense?
What was my offense? Part of it are illegitimate children, bastards. Children who will now get up later in life and ask their mothers, who exactly is my father? Who is he? What is his name? And whether we like it or not, it's a threat to existence of humanity. We are moving, if we allow it, humanity will be moving towards extinction. Homosexuals can't produce children. Lesbians can't have children of their own. So at the end of the day, by the time we have about 57% or 58% of a particular community childless, then what are we talking about? It's a threat, a real threat to the existence of mankind. So that on its own is the major reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribes severe punishment that will serve as a deterrent, apart from preaching against it, apart from telling us this is not good, do not do it, apart from legalizing marriage, and making it a beautiful source of reward for us, telling us the gains. He has prescribed serious punishment for the adulterer. If you are a married man, a married woman, going to seek sexual engagement after Allah has granted you your own, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, stone them to death.
Okay.
For the young ones, they are not married, why don't you be patient for your own time? Allah said we should give them lashes, flog them 100. And for the homosexuals, the people that practice sodomy, their own punishment is even worse than zina. In the actual sense of it, it is worse than zina. Looking at it, even looking at the byproduct on the health of the community, on the health of humanity as a whole, their own punishment is outright killing. Some scholars say get to the tallest building in any community and push them down.
Well, at this point, there's no need denying the fact that the society we live in is wallowing in the pit of zina and homosexualism. We already know there is a challenge, we know there is a problem, and that's why we are here on this program to really educate people. We want to provide solutions to the problems that we have. So what are the ways out of these problems?
First and foremost, we need enlightenment.
Enlightenment.
We need to let a lot of people know, both young and old, that those acts are not normal things and the consequence of allowing it to go on. We need not feel deterred by the threat of the international community, because I begin to wonder, what does the United Nations want to make of humanity by insisting that some countries must allow and sign into law the act of sodomy, lesbianism and homosexualism? What do they want to turn humanity? What do they want to gain by it? Are they actually doing this in the interest of humanity? We shouldn't allow that to deter us. We should go headlong and enlighten people. We need spiritual reformations. We need to let our salat has impact on our lives. Part of it is the Ramadan we are engaging in. And every act of dhikr, we need to know. We need to put up some level of self-discipline. Caution yourself, ask yourself, do you engage in a particular act? What is the consequence? What do I stand to gain by engaging in it? What do I stand to lose by engaging in it? If I don't do it, what is the consequence on me? Then we should have a good self-esteem of ourselves. What kind of a life do you want to live? Look at yourself. Who am I? What do I look to myself? Then we should be contented and treat our children with contentment. At the same time, let people go back to responsible parenting. We are no longer parenting. It is happening. Situations where we go out in the morning and come back at night, we don't know where our children have been. We don't know what they do. We care less about what they eat. We care less about the groups they move with. And some people now will take advantage of that and lure some of these children into other things that they shouldn't go into. So we should know that this particular act is a serious threat to us. And we should realize that we are going to be held accountable for every act, for every action, for every deed of ours, including the way we use our body. It is an act of ignorance for you to think, I am a human being, I can do whatever I like with myself. After all, it is my body. But somebody that gave that body to you, you didn't make that body for yourself. So it means, and at the end of the day, whether you use that body rightly or use it wrongly, you will definitely pay the price. So you should think of, what price am I paying for? By the time a girl gets pregnant, does first abortion, does second one, our life is at risk, our productivity later on in life is at risk, and so many attendant factors. A lot of infections can come into it, and so many other things. So by and large, we should know that whatever we get at the end of the day, whatever we sow is what we are going to reap, is what we are going to get. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us against this virus.
Amen.
That is raging our community, and give us the power to stand firmly on the path of truth and say no to it in its entirety.
Saying no to it in its entirety was where she concluded. From where she has stopped, let me take it up from there. Viewers at home, so far so good. I'm sure you must have learned one or two things. For parents out there, your inadequacies is giving way to people, for people to take advantage of your children. For children out there, grow up. See reasons with what we are trying to say. The injunctions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has beyond spiritual benefits, moral benefits. I want you all out there, my viewers at home, to be able to reason with the dictates of the Quran. Be a new person, be a better Muslim. Join us same time, same station. I am Olagunjo Bushra. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Today you become man and wife, fulfilling the sunnah as way of life. Today you'll find serenity. May your life be filled with sincerity. There is no happier day in your life than the virtue of being man and wife. There's joy without any end. Allah's blessing on this day does descend.